got a ppsimmons PNN Freedom Friday exclusive here. The other day I was listening to the world's radio station, BBC, and they were reporting live about okay, so we have the Antarctic landmass up on the South Pole there, right?
Right.
And attached to that landmass, just a brief history here, attached to the landmass are sheets of ice, right? And each one of these sheets has a name associated with it. So it was being reported that a chunk of one of these ice sheets broke away from Antarctica and is now drifting out into the ocean, right? And this is a big deal because the iceberg is the size of Delaware. I mean, this thing is enormous, right? And it was being reported for several days on BBC all last week. The world has a new iceberg that's so massive in size that maps of Antarctica will soon have to be redrawn, Carl. The trillion-ton piece of ice just broke off from Larsen C. That's the name of the ice shelf, one of many, sort of kind of hanging off of the landmass there on the Antarctic Peninsula, right? Totals about 2,240 square miles, about the size of the state of Delaware. Its volume, 40 trillion cubic feet of ice, is twice the size of Lake Erie.
Good gosh.
Yes, this thing is enormous. Scientists have been expecting this for months. They say, now here's the thing now. This article on Vox.com, they're very honest about this. They say that this was not caused by climate change, and sea levels will not rise from this new iceberg because the ice was already in the ocean. It's the one of the laws of displacement. If ice is in water, melting the ice will not cause the rise of the water level.
Right. And you know, even though it's the size of Delaware, so we're dealing, you and I and Vox, we're dealing with real science. Right. So go ahead.
So PJ Media. Okay, so Al Gore's new movie. He's premiered that at the 70th Cannes Festival in Cannes, France, right?
Yeah.
And so he says here on pjmedia.com, it says, back with a sequel to Inconvenient Truth, former Vice President Al Gore reflected on his 2006 prediction that the world would reach a point of no return within 10 years if drastic measures were not taken to combat climate change. Remember those statements?
I do.
Gore was asked why he made that prediction in the first film and if he has another prediction to make about climate change now, 11 years later.
Right.
Now we're 1 year past, total annihilation. And I don't know about you, but I think they might still be skiing up in Lake Tahoe up there on Donner's Pass, by the way. Okay, so Al Gore's response. First of all, we've seen a lot of progress since the movie came out. We have the Paris Agreement now. Cost of renewable energy has come down so quickly that people are switching over. Unfortunately, some levels of the Earth system have crossed a point of no return, okay? This is Al Gore's words in an interview with PJ Media at Cannes Film Festival recently. Gore said during an interview with PJ Media on the green carpet of an inconvenient sequel, Truth to Power, on Wednesdays. This is just this past Wednesday. Now, here's the thing. He cites what I'm about to tell you. This is his first salvo out of the gate. This is what he says. This is his first reason why we should be ever so afraid of climate change, okay? Quote, the big chunk of the West Antarctic ice sheet, so he's referencing exactly the story that I just gave you, okay?
Right.
For example, makes a considerable amount of sea level rise inevitable in the future.
Yeah.
Okay? We still have the ability to stop short of other points of no return. So he is citing this as the first point of no return when it comes to climate change, when we now know, I mean, all the BBC, they trotted out all of these experts as soon as they figured out that this thing had split away from the ice sheet in Antarctica. All these experts came in, they said, look, this is what the ice sheets do. Every day the ice sheets get up in the morning and shear off pieces of themselves every day, all year long. This is what they do. We've been expecting this. This is nothing new. This happens to be a particularly large piece of the ice sheet, but this ice sheet will rebuild itself. All of that ice that broke off will replace itself. This is not a big deal. And eventually this thing will melt in the ocean as it gets into warmer waters. It will not cause any rise in the ocean. And yet here we have Al Gore just a bald-faced lying to PJ Media saying we need to be worried about climate change and shift the global economy over to renewable energy because of this piece of the Antarctic ice sheet splitting off, which is going to raise the levels of the oceans. That is a bald-faced lie. Al Gore has just been caught lying to the public because Al Gore is interested in shifting the global economies into a place where he and his cohorts and companies that he's associated with and his family for generations down the road will benefit financially to Al Gore's pivot towards renewable energy. Now, I'm not saying that we shouldn't stop polluting the earth. I'm against pollution in any sense, every sense. The Bible is against pollution. One of the reasons the Bible says that God is coming back to judge the earth is because of, quote, those who pollute the earth. We should not be polluting God's creation. We're all in favor of stopping the pollution. Right. But this is a scam on a global scale that these people are trying to perpetrate on the American people, the Canadian people. Unfortunately, the Canadian Prime Minister is fully on board with this nonsense because maybe he's not bright enough to understand the science on it.
Yeah. Well, no, and you keep saying he's a bald-faced liar. Well, there's only three possibilities. He's either a bald-faced liar or he's bald-faced ignorant or both. I mean, because the ice doesn't drop down out of the heavens. It forms from water that's already there. And like you said, if you put a cube of ice in a cup, when the ice melts, the level doesn't rise. I mean, because it's anyway.
Al Gore
it's pseudoscience. It's ridiculous.
Al Gore has staked his entire legacy on this matter.
Yeah,
the man may be corrupt. He may be disingenuous on every level, but he's not stupid.
No.
I mean, he knows that when you melt an ice cube in a glass of water, the level of the water in the cup does not rise.
Exactly.
The man has to know that.
This is the same.
Either way, though, he's completely untrustworthy. Either he's ignorant of the scientific facts or he's lying. Either way, we cannot trust him.
Exactly. That's my point. That's where I was trying to bumble around and get to. And the bottom line, it's the same pseudoscience as evolution. And we got to take a break, but when we come back, we're going to dive right off into another example of the boondoggle of evolution. Right? Okay?
Yeah,
all right, good deal. But this whole global warming, man-made global warming, it's the same pseudoscience. Al Gore spews it out of his mouth because of this iceberg. And he bald-faced lies and says the oceans are going to rise because of it. And we know that's scientifically not so, Mike Shoesmith. Thank you.
Right.
Yeah. This is why I listen to Freedom Friday, folks. See, I learned some things. I knew all that about water displacement and everything, but I didn't know about this iceberg the size of Delaware. Did you know that, JC? Have you been hearing about it? No, JC says no either. So, Mike Shoesmith, thanks. And thank you for listening, Gulf Coast and America and the world.